chapter 221 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Dwaraka, the rose-red city. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Perhaps it was the urgency of his mission, or perhaps it was the witchery of Krishna. But the old man was surprised to find himself in Dwaraka very soon. He sensed where the house was, where Krishna lived. He hurried towards it. The doorkeepers received him with respect and led him to the inner apartments. The old man looked up, and there, on a seat which was golden, sat Krishna, the Lord of Lords. So overcome was the Brahmin with emotion and happiness. He spoke not a word, but stood there with his eyes drinking in the beauty of Krishna. Krishna got up quickly from his seat and coming towards the Brahmin, fell at his feet and asked for his blessings. He then led the guest to the seat where he was sitting. He waited on him himself, and making him refreshed after the journey he had made, Krishna made him partake of food and asked him to rest himself. After he had rested for a while, Krishna pressed his feet with his lotus hands and said, "My Lord, are the people in your country righteous? Are you and the likes of you allowed to pursue your duties without any trouble? Are the people contented in the country where you come from?" If a Brahmin has this one quality, that of saying, "What I have is enough," what I have is enough, and does not aspire for many things, he will have no cause to be unhappy. If, however, there is contentment in the heart, then even if he is given the honor of being Indra, he will not be happy. To me, the people worthy of worship are the Brahmins who are contented with what they have, who are ever bent on the knowledge of the Atman, who never swerve from the Dharma which is theirs, who are without ego, who are ever tranquil under all circumstances. Such Brahmins are found only in the country where the ruler is righteous. Is your king good to you? Is he walking in the path of Dharma? If so, he is dear to me. You have come to see me. From a distance you have come, as I can see from the signs of travel on you. Crossing so many rivers and forests, and crossing the big moat which surrounds my city, you have come to me. If you can tell me what I can do for you, I will do it gladly. If it is no secret, tell me what has made you undertake such a long and tiresome journey at this age. It is an age when you should rest and not tire yourself. Please tell me if it is not a breach of confidence why you came." The Brahmin was charmed with the words of Krishna. He said, "You are the Lord of the entire universe, they say, and there is nothing which you can do now. And there is nothing which you do not know. And yet, since you have honored me so much and asked me why I have come, I am only too happy to tell you. I come from the country by name Vidarbha. Kundinapura is the chief city, and the country is ruled by the very righteous king by name Bhishmaka. He has a daughter, and her name is Rukmini." Here the Brahmin paused and looked at Krishna as if to ask, "Have you heard of her?" Krishna had a gentle smile on his lips, and he said nothing. The Brahmin continued to talk. He said, "The king has also 5 sons, and the eldest of them is known as Rukmi. The king, feeling that his daughter is of marriageable age, considered that you are a worthy person and decided to give his daughter to you." Again he paused, and Krishna had a gleam in his eyes and said, "Me? He wants to give his daughter to me, but then no one has approached me as yet, nor has my father received any message from Vidarbha. Are you the emissary the king has sent?" The Brahmin said, "No, Things are not so easy to manage there. The king wanted to give his daughter to you, but his son would not let him do so. He wants his sister to wed Shishupala, the son of Dhamagosha. He is the lord of the Chedi country. Krishna's face assumed a serious look. He said, I have heard very ill favored reports about Shishupala. Did the king agree to this unsuitable marriage? He had to, said the Brahmin, because Rukmi is a powerful prince and his word is law. And so, where do I come in? Asked Krishna with a mischievous look. Rukmini, my lord, said the Brahmin, has ever been in love with you. Ever since she was a child, I have known her, and she has told me how much she loves you. And to a Pativrata like her, this news is poison. She is heartbroken, she is desperate, and she has sent you a message through me. She asked me to hurry as much as I could and deliver it to you. I will relate it to you, and the rest is in your hands. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamast. Chapter 222 of Shrimadbhagavatam. Rukmini's message. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The old Brahmin sat up straight, and Krishna sat with his eyes wide open to listen to the message of Rukmini. Achyuta, Krishna, you are the most handsome person in the entire world. So I have been told. I have heard about your many noble qualities, that you are ever compassionate towards those who are devoted to you. I have heard about your looks, your greatness, your nobility, and all these I have heard from great rishis like Narada. My ears have been for a long time drinking in these words, and my mind is lost in you. I feel no shame in telling you of my love for you. Is it surprising that a woman should love you, who has all these qualities? Perhaps you may think that a high-born maiden like me is lacking in decorum when I approach you with my love. Mukunda, how can anything else be possible? How can I help it? How can I help loving you? Krishna, you are a lion among men. As for me, I am a brave woman and I am intelligent. I am also possessed of great and good qualities. I am born in a noble family. In every way I am your equal and a fitting wife to you. And you are the only man fit enough to take me. You are generous, born in noble line, capable, well versed in the fine arts and the arts which please a woman. You are young and rich. Your patience and your sweet nature are known the world over. You are ever full of affection for others, and the praises heaped on you are countless. How then can a woman like me help loving you and choosing you as her Lord? You must take me and make me yours. Please do not let a small-minded, mean jackal touch what is meant for a lion. The prince of Chedi, who has been chosen by my brother, should not touch me even with his thoughts. Make me yours before he sees me. Whether you will take me or not will soon be made known to me by the messenger. I have sent you. But remember, my lord, please remember, I have performed severe penances in my own way to make you accept me. I have performed charitable deeds. I have worshipped fire and I have given away gold and other gifts to deserving people. I have performed vritas and have ever been paying respect to elders and Brahmins. All these acts of mine must grant me my wish, and that is to be yours. Only you should take my hand in yours and not the son of Damagosha. It is only the hope of your accepting my love that is keeping me alive. If, by chance, you do not come, and if this man touches me, I will die consumed by the fire of separation from you. Your lotus eyes will ever be in my mind's eye when I die, and I will not be unhappy to die. Only you will have to suffer because of the stigma attached to your name, that you did not save your devotee who had surrendered her everything to you. Perhaps you are wondering about the means by which I should be taken away. You may be saying, Rukmini, your father and brother have already made up their minds about the man who is to have you. The marriage is to take place in 2 days. There is so little time. How then can I do what you ask me to do? I know that you are invincible, and in this entire world there is no one equal to you in prowess. Please come to our city the day before the wedding. Then, with your army, you can destroy those of Shishupala and Jarasandha and carry me away forcibly in the manner known as Rakshasa. I do not have to tell you that among the Kshatriyas, when the maiden's people do not approve of the man she has chosen, this is the method by which he marries her. You may have another doubt. You may say, for the sake of carrying you away, I will have to enter the chambers set apart for women, the Antahpura, and hurt innocent women and guards. Is it right? I have a solution for that also. On the day before the wedding, there is a custom that the bride should leave the Antahpura and come out into the open. While auspicious instruments make music, she will have to walk to the temple of Devi Parvati and pray to her. The temple is quite some distance from the palace. When I have come out of the palace, it will be easy for you to take me away when everyone is looking on. Great sadhus want but the dust of your feet to cure them of their tamoguna. It is that very dust which will keep me alive. If, however, I do not achieve my heart's desire, I will abandon this body of mine which is already wasted by constant fasts and vritas. I will die with the hope that you will take me at least in my next janma, or, if that fails, in the next. Hundreds of births may pass, but finally you will be my Lord, and till then I will pray for your grace and wait for it. Please do not abandon me, who is ever devoted to you and whose life depends on you. The message was over. The Brahmin stopped for a moment and then said, This, my lord, is what Rukmini asked me to repeat to you. I have laid the facts before you. It is up to you now to do what you please. Krishna stood up. He took the hands of the Brahmin in his and smiled at him. He then said, I am not shy to tell you that I have been in love with Rukmini too for the last so many years. Just as she has heard about me and my qualities and loved me for them, I have also done the same. Narada has described her to me. He has told me, she glows like gold, her hair is dark like a beetle, her face is like the full moon, and her eyes are white and beautiful like those of a stricken deer. Her nose is small and straight, her teeth are like string of jasmine buds, her smile is captivating. Her ears are like shells and her voice is like that of the nightingale. Her neck is white and beautiful like a conch. Her lips are more red than the bimbo fruit. Her red feet are soft and her soft palms bear auspicious signs like the Shankha and the Chakra. Her waist is small and her thigh are soft and straight like the trunk of a plantain tree. Her hips are large and beautiful. She walks like a swan and her face is ever smiling and calm. Ever since I heard the words of Narada, I have been wanting to take her hand. Narada also told me that her father was planning to give her to me. Now, even before she told me, I have heard that her brother's hatred for me has caused a change of plan, and ever since then I have not been able to sleep at nights. Look at my eyes. Are they not red? Can you not see that they are tired? Krishna paused for a moment and then said, I will, this very moment, destroy those sinful men who disgrace the Kshatriya caste to which they belong. I will snatch the beautiful Princess Rukmini under their very eyes and bring her back with me to Dwaraka. I will not abandon Rukmini, whose heart is already mine. Krishna knew that he had very little time since the marriage was decided to take place 2 days later. Krishna called for his charioteer Daruka and said, Daruka, get my chariot ready. I must leave immediately. Krishna's favorite horses, Shaibhya, Sugriva, Meghapushpaka, and Valahaka, were soon yoked, and Daruka brought the chariot to the door and came and stood before Krishna as if to say, the chariot is ready. Krishna helped the old Brahmin into the chariot and then he ascended it himself. The horses were fleeter than the wind and they travelled all night. Early in the morning they reached Vidarbha. Balarama in the meantime heard that Krishna had left in a hurry for Vidarbha and that he had every intention of bringing Rukmini with him. Balarama guessed that there would be some trouble caused by the others there, and so he hurried to Vidarbha with the Yadava army. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamast. Chapter 223 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Rukmini's Despair. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhishmaka, in the meantime, had made all the preparations for the wedding. The city of Kundinapura had a festive look. The streets were sprinkled with scented water, and all the houses were decorated with wreaths of flowers. The pillars and the flagstaffs were all gay with fettering flags and banners. All the people were dressed in their silks, and every house bore a gay look since their princess was to be married. The palace was a hive of activity. The preparations were endless. The poor were fed and the Brahmins were honored with feasts and gifts of gold and silks. They were asked to bless the young princess, who was to be the bride the next day. The walls were resounding with the chanting of the Vedas and the singing of the women who surrounded Rukmini. They dressed her in new clothes and they tied charms and amulets and yellow thread round her wrist to ward off evil eyes. Dhamagosha, the king of Chedi, did the same thing for his son and brought Shishupala to Vidarbha. He brought a large army with him and they came to the city early enough. Bhishmaka received them with due honor and took them to their apartments, palaces set apart for them. With Shishupala had come Jarasandha, Shalva, Dantavakra, Vidurata and Paundraka. They were all confirmed enemies of Krishna and Rama. They had also brought their armies with them. They were all familiar with the fact that Bhishmaka had wanted to give Rukmini to Krishna and that it was the firm voice of Rukmi which had averted the calamity. They wanted, therefore, to be there to help Shishupala in case any crisis occurred, and hence the large armies. Rukmini took no interest in the surroundings and in the excitement which was in the heart of everyone. She sat like a puppet while all the preparations were going on. Her heart was with Krishna and her mind was clouded since her messenger, the old Brahmin, had not come back from Dwaraka. She thought, there is just one night left and then the day of the marriage will follow. Krishna has not come nor has the old man. Perhaps Krishna, who was interested in marrying me, became suddenly displeased with me because of my shamelessness in telling him of my love, and so perhaps he does not want to come. The old man is too fond of me to tell me this, and that is why he has not come. I am sure of it. Or perhaps because of my misfortune he has come across some obstacle on the way and is hence delayed. Or is it that the gods are angry and their anger has made me the most miserable among women? Have I been careless in my worship of God? It cannot be. Mahadeva is the Lord of Lords and he is compassionate enough to overlook the faults of the likes of me. Even if he is angry with me for some fault of mine, why is Gauri, Parvati, the goddess whom I worship every day, why is she also indifferent? By herself, she is compassionate. Perhaps her constant association with Rudra must have made her also like him in her anger. She knows that I am just about to kill myself, and yet she does not relent. It is but natural for her, Girija, the daughter of a mountain, to be born with a heart of stone. With her mind filled with misgivings like these, Rukmini closed her eyes and sat silent. She comforted herself with the thoughts that there was still time for Krishna to come. She did not want anyone to see her tears. Closing her eyes, she told herself, "Let me not despair. The time is not yet past. There is still a chance of his coming. I must not die yet. If he comes and then finds that I have given up my life, what then? What will he think of my faith in him?" Suddenly, Rukmini found her left eye throbbing. Her left thigh and left shoulders were also throbbing. All these sudden signs were indicating that something good was to happen to her, and she opened her eyes and her heart felt lighter. She felt that all hope was not lost. Krishna, in the meantime, had arrived at the garden, which was located just outside the outskirts of the city. He asked the Brahmin to go to the palace and assure Rukmini that her troubles were at an end and that Krishna was in the city. When Rukmini opened her eyes, which were full of tears, she espied someone familiar at the distance. She wiped her eyes and looked again, and it was not imagination. The old man had come. He was approaching her fast. From the smile on his face, she knew that he was bringing good tidings. He had seen her walking up and down the terrace, and he saw her sit down with despair writ in her every movement. He hurried towards her. When she saw him, she questioned him with her eyes, and he could convey to her the message that the Lord was in the city. Very casually, she took him aside and then asked him what had happened. He related to her in detail his visit to Dwaraka and Krishna's confiding in him that he was also in love with her. Tears flowed from her eyes, and she said, "I do not know how to reward you, my friend, for this your kindness. There is only one thing I can do." And she fell at his feet and washed them with her tears. News reached Bhishmaka that Krishna and Rama had arrived in the city. He thought that they had come to join in the wedding celebrations. He went to them and offered milk and honey, costly clothes and gems. In his mind, he had chosen Krishna as the groom, and he was not happy at the thought that someone else had taken his place. He honored Krishna as he would his son to be. He led them to a very grand apartment and requested them to honor him by attending the wedding. Krishna smiled and said, "Have no fear. I have come just for that, the wedding of your daughter." Balarama looked serious, and the two brothers stayed together long after the old king had left them. The citizens heard that Krishna had come to their city with Rama, and they rushed to the palace where they were staying to have a look at them. They told themselves, "Krishna is the man who should have married our Rukmini. See how well they are suited to each other. If at all we have obtained any punya in our previous births, and in this birth we will offer it all up as the price if this Krishna will be made to marry Rukmini by the gods." So they spoke, but it was all in whispers. They did not dare express their feelings, since Rukmi was not fond of Krishna, and he would punish them if he heard them. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Panamasth. Chapter 224 of Shrimadbhagavatam. The princess walks to the temple. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The hallowed moment had come when the princess had to come out of her apartment to proceed to the temple of Parvati. On all sides, she was heavily guarded by soldiers, with drawn swords, and Rukmini walked with halting steps. With her went her mother and her companions and the royal guard. Her mind fixed on Krishna, her eyes half closed, Rukmini walked as though in a trance. It was a long procession, and the women carried the auspicious materials for the worship of the Devi. There was music and there was chanting of the Vedas, and the princess reached the temple. She washed her feet and her hands and her eyes. Old Brahmin Suvasinis took her by the hand and led her to the shrine of Parvati. Rukmini prayed, "Mother, I salute you again and again." Her silent prayer was, "Mother, mine, please make Krishna my Lord. I have but one desire and you must grant me that. Make me Krishna's." She then worshipped the Devi and performed the puja as was directed by the older women. She received the prasada from them after falling at their feet. Her vow of silence had been broken by her prayer, and with her jeweled fingers holding on to the arm of her companion, she emerged out of the temple. All the princes who had assembled there for the wedding saw her and her immense charm. Her waist was so small it could not be seen but for the band of gold which encircled it. The gems set in it pulled the eyes of the beholders to her waist and made them gasp in admiration. With her earrings moving in the breeze, with her eyes like those of a deer, with her smile bright like moonlight, with the gait of a swan, she walked slowly, and those who saw her were faint with too much beauty. Some of them did actually faint. Rukmini knew that Krishna was somewhere there and that he would take her away from there. A faint smile hovered on her red lips, and there was eagerness in her steps. And yet she did not dare to walk fast. It was not done. And again, once she had covered the distance between the temple and the palace, her chance of staying out in the open would be gone forever. But her eagerness to see Krishna was overwhelming. In the breeze, her dark curls tended to flutter around her face. With her left hand, she pushed them away, and under this pretext, she raised her eyes from the ground and looked around furtively for a sight of her Lord. At the same time, she felt his presence and looked up. She saw the most divinely handsome man standing on the terrace of a chariot, and his right hand was held out to her. He leaned out of the chariot and he grasped her right hand firmly, and he lifted her bodily and placed her in his chariot. Even as the others were looking on, Krishna spurred his horses and drove away from there. Balarama and the Yadava host followed him slowly. Krishna looked like a lion walking away with his prey from the midst of a pack of jackals. For a moment there was silence, and then there was confusion among the kings who had come there for the wedding. Shalva and Jarasandha and the others could not bear this insult to their friend and said, "Shame on us that we stood helpless while a cowherd walked away with a prize which rightly belongs to a Kshatriya." Soon they were riding on their chariots with their armies, following them, and tried to overtake Krishna and claim their friend's bride to be. But the foresight of Balarama prevented them from doing this. The Yadava army held them at bay and would not let them proceed further. From the terrace of the chariot, Rukmini saw the fight that was going on, and her eyes were scared. Drinking her beauty with his eyes, Krishna said, "Do not be afraid. The enemies will soon be routed by your army." Her face was red with shyness, and she would not look up at Krishna, who she knew was looking at her with a smile in his eyes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.